Leo describes the calm routine of his life inside his small apartment, a space he has shaped with care and quiet intention. He enjoys the predictable rhythm of his days, the soft hum of the terrarium lights, and the peaceful silence that lets him think clearly. His home is his sanctuary, a place where everything has its order and every corner reflects his sense of stability. He likes waking up to the gentle glow of his plants, making breakfast without rushing, and ending each day in the comfort of a space that feels entirely his. For Leo, this apartment is not just a home, but a world he built from the ground up, one that keeps him grounded and protected from chaos outside. Sarah moved in with a burst of excitement that felt harmless at first, a kind of chaotic energy Leo thought he could tolerate. She arrived with suitcases, lights, tripods, a ring light almost as tall as she was, and a camera bag that never seemed to close. Within hours, she began rearranging things, claiming it helped her optimize the space for content, a phrase Leo would soon come to dread. What began as a few items placed here, and there quickly grew into an invasion that consumed every surface. The living room turned into a backdrop station. The kitchen became a staging area for photo props. Even the hallway was lined with boxes labeled PRGIFTS, stacked so high that opening the front door required force. The confrontation didn't begin as a fight. It started as an announcement, casual, rehearsed, and delivered as if Leo had no real part in the conversation. Sarah sat him down on the couch one afternoon, flanked by Kaylin and Belle, who looked far too comfortable for people who didn't live there. They exchanged glances, nodding to each other before Sarah cleared her throat and spoke with an overly sweet tone. She said the three of them had discussed things and decided it made sense for Kaylin and Belle to temporarily move in. She said it like it was a gift to him, like they were blessing him with their presence. The moment the elevator doors closed behind them, Leo felt the weight of the apartment lift from his shoulders. Silence settled over the rooms like a long-lost friend, returning after exile. He stood in the living room for a full minute, breathing slowly, letting the clarity sharpen inside him. Then he moved. Not with panic, but with a precise, deliberate determination he didn't know he possessed. He grabbed the first box, then another, pulling them open and beginning to pack Sarah's belongings systematically. Clothes, cosmetics, stacks of props, ring lights, makeup palettes, half-used notebooks filled with content ideas, all of it went in. He worked from room to room, uncovering corners he hadn't seen in months behind her growing clutter. Every drawer revealed something she had stored away, as if marking territory. Leo didn't stop to reflect. He simply folded, sorted, boxed, and sealed, letting the rhythm of movement replace emotion. He found the spare key she had secretly duplicated and placed it in a separate envelope. He gathered her chargers, jewelry, shoes, and the endless stream of PR packages she had never opened. He unplugged her devices, coiling each cord with a kind of ceremonial finality. Piece by piece, he removed the presence that had consumed his home, returning the apartment to something closer to its original self. Once everything was packed, he neatly labeled each box and arranged them near the door. Then he called a courier service and arranged immediate pickup for delivery to her parents' house. He included a short note, polite, factual, emotionless. There were no accusations, no explanations. Just a confirmation that her belongings were on their way and that the situation had changed. When the courier arrived, Leo helped load the boxes into the van. The driver asked if he needed a receipt. Leo nodded, tucking the paper into his pocket like a shield. As the van pulled away, he felt the first real breath of freedom since Sarah had moved in. Inside, he began phase 2. He changed the locks, removing the old hardware and installing new deadbolts with careful attention. His hands were steady, his mind sharp. He reset all app permissions, removed her access to the smart lock, deleted her fingerprint from the system, and wiped her profile from every device. He disabled her access to the Wi-Fi, removed her from streaming accounts, and changed every password associated with the home. Then he unplugged the cameras she had insisted on installing for filming convenience and reset them to factory settings. The apartment felt like it was exhaling with him, shaking off the digital fingerprints she had scattered everywhere. By the time night settled in, the transformation was complete. The ring lights were gone. The equipment clutter was gone. The constant sense of intrusion had evaporated. The apartment was his again, quiet, orderly, alive with the soft glow of the terrarium he had almost lost. Hours later, the doorknob rattled. Leo froze, listening. Sarah's voice slurred through the door, confused, then irritated, then panicked. She pounded on the wood, demanding to be let in, her frustration rising into screams. But the locks held. The walls held. And Leo, standing in the dim hallway with the terrarium light illuminating his calm expression, understood fully that the turning point had arrived. She was on the outside. And he was finally back where he belonged, inside his own life, reclaiming what was always meant to be his. Sarah's fists pounded against the door with a desperate force that shook the frame. Her voice cracked between rage and disbelief, slurring from the drinks she'd had earlier. She demanded to know why her key didn't work, why the lock felt different, why Leo wasn't opening the door. Leo stood a few steps back, steadying his breath before responding. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He simply spoke through the narrow gap of the door's security latch. He told her the relationship was over. He told her her belongings were already sent to her parents' house. And he told her she no longer lived there. Sarah's online outrage didn't fade. It evolved. Within a week, Leo received a formal notice informing him that Sarah had filed a lawsuit against him, claiming he had illegally evicted her and stolen her terrarium. Leo stared at the document in disbelief, stunned by the audacity. The terrarium wasn't hers. She had barely touched it, aside from unplugging it once to charge a camera. But the lie didn't surprise him anymore. It was simply another extension of her narrative building, another attempt to weaponize a story she crafted for attention. He didn't panic. Instead, he gathered everything. Every bill, every email, every photo of the terrarium's construction from years before he ever met her. He pulled receipts from the drawers, opened old forum threads where he had documented the build step by step, and printed them with timestamps intact. He downloaded footage from the doorbell camera, showing her storming in and out, complaining, screaming, and never once behaving like someone who lived there. He organized everything into labeled folders until the evidence became undeniable even to himself. When the court date arrived, Sarah showed up dressed as if she were attending a red carpet event. Her makeup was dramatic, her expression heavily rehearsed, her two friends trailing behind her like backup dancers waiting for their cue. She sat confidently, convinced the court would side with her once she cried on command. Leo entered quietly with a small stack of documents and a state of calm that Sarah couldn't decipher. In the courtroom, Sarah launched into her performance with full force. She cried, insisted he had heartlessly thrown her out, claimed she had lived there for months, and swore the terrarium was a shared project that he stole out of spite. She gestured theatrically, casting herself as the victim of an emotionally abusive partner. For a moment, the judge listened with polite neutrality. But when it was Leo's turn to speak, the illusion began to unravel. He presented the property deed, showing his sole ownership. He provided bank statements proving every utility, rent, and maintenance payment came from him alone. He handed over receipts for the terrarium materials dated years before Sarah appeared in his life. Then came the printed forum logs, timestamp posts, and build photos showing every phase of the terrarium's creation. Finally, he submitted footage from the doorbell camera capturing Sarah and her friends threatening him, insulting him, and explicitly acknowledging they had no keys, no rights, and no residence there. The shift in the courtroom was palpable. The judge's expression tightened as she reviewed the documents. She asked Sarah for proof of residency, anything with her name and Leo's address. Sarah stammered, scrambling through her purse for papers that didn't exist. The judge's voice grew sharper as she pointed out inconsistencies in Sarah's story. When the judge asked Sarah to explain why her supposed home had no trace of her name on any legal or financial document, Sarah's confidence finally cracked. In the end, the judge dismissed the case entirely. She reprimanded Sarah for wasting the court's time and warned her that her statements bordered on perjury. Sarah's face went pale, humiliation washing over her in real time. Kaylin and Belle shrank back, avoiding eye contact with everyone in the room. As Leo walked out, he felt no triumph, just relief. The truth had spoken louder than the spectacle. And with the ruling behind him, he finally felt the ground under his feet solidify again, free of the false narrative Sarah had tried so desperately to build. Sarah didn't disappear after losing in court. If anything, the defeat ignited a final burst of spite that burned hotter than anything she had shown before. Her online persona had begun to crack under the pressure of exposed lies, dropping follower counts and skeptical comments, but she refused to accept that the collapse was her own doing. Instead, she shifted her strategy toward a new attack, one designed to hurt Leo in a place she hadn't targeted before. She posted a video accusing Leo of animal neglect, claiming the terrarium was a dangerous environment and that she had been the one caring for the animals all along. Her voice trembled convincingly, her tears flowing with the precision of someone who knew the emotional beats required to manipulate an audience. She framed herself as a whistleblower, a protector bravely exposing cruelty. Leo watched the clip once, heart pounding, not out of guilt, but out of anger at the blatant fabrication. The terrarium was the one thing he nurtured with absolute dedication. It was the symbol of everything he valued: stability, patience, creation, control. And she was attacking it because it mattered to him. Days later, animal welfare officers arrived at his door for an unannounced inspection. Leo cooperated calmly, guiding them through every aspect of the terrarium's setup. The officers examined humidity levels, lighting systems, feeding logs, and the health of the animals. One officer even remarked that it was one of the best-maintained terrariums he'd seen in his career. When Leo asked if he could know who filed the complaint, they exchanged a knowing look and said it was an anonymous tip, but the content of the report made the author painfully obvious. After completing their evaluation, the officers formally documented the report as malicious and unfounded. They advised Leo that false complaints of this nature could carry consequences if repeated. Leo thanked them, closing the door with a sense of righteous clarity settling in. Sarah's tactics were no longer just dramatic. They were destructive and increasingly desperate. That was the moment Leo decided he wouldn't stay passive anymore. He gathered everything: copies of the legal ruling, screenshots of her defamatory posts, the official report labeling her accusation as malicious, and a concise but detailed summary of the entire sequence of events. He compiled it into a professional, factual package. Then he sent it, quietly, directly, and thoroughly, to every brand, agency, and sponsor Sarah had collaborated with in the last 2 years. The reaction came faster than he expected. Within days, her partnership links vanished. Companies posted subtle but clear statements about taking ethical concerns seriously. Her scheduled campaigns were canceled. Invitations to events disappeared. Her inbox, once overflowing with PR offers, fell silent. Online, her carefully curated persona crumbled. Followers noticed inconsistencies. Old fans questioned her honesty. Former collaborators unfollowed her to protect their own reputations. Kaylin and Belle slowly distanced themselves as the backlash grew, each making vague posts about outgrowing toxic situations. The tribe she had once bragged about dissolved in real time. Sarah tried to fight back, posting frantic videos and emotional rants, but none of them landed. The algorithm stopped favoring her. Brands refused to engage. Her image had been dragged under by her own actions, and Leo didn't need to lift a finger after the initial push. By the end of the month, Sarah's influencer career was effectively over. Opportunities gone. Audience fractured. Income evaporated. And for the first time, Leo felt the deep, steady certainty that he had reclaimed not just his home, but his autonomy, his boundaries, and the quiet life he valued. He stood before the terrarium one evening, adjusting the mist levels with a soft smile, knowing that this time, no one could take this piece from him again. Sarah's downfall unfolded quietly after the chaos settled. Without sponsors, without her curated image, and without the tribe she once relied on, she was forced to abandon the influencer lifestyle she had clung to so desperately. She moved back into her parents' house, taking a part-time job that barely covered her personal expenses, and tried to rebuild her identity away from the spotlight she had abused. For the first time, she faced a world that didn't reward her theatrics or manipulation. Meanwhile, Leo's life slowly returned to the peaceful rhythm he once cherished. The apartment regained its warmth, its order, and its sense of safety. He repaired the small damages left behind, reorganized his shelves, and restored the quiet rituals that made the space feel like home again. Most importantly, he returned to caring for his terrarium with a deeper appreciation than before. Each time he misted the plants or adjusted the lighting, he felt grounded. The terrarium had survived the storm just as he had, intact, steadfast, and quietly thriving. In its soft glow, Leo found the reminder that he had built something worth protecting. And this time, nothing and no one would invade that peace again.